a place where audiences in New York could experience work that to them was very unique and different and pushing the envelope. Work that was coming from overseas, work that was being made as underground film, independent film, international film, experimental film. And Amos did this in basements and in small theaters in New York downtown, and eventually ended up taking the core and the essence of what he did and bringing it to Lincoln Center. He was one of the co-founders of the New York Film Festival, and I think that the ideas that he explored and created with Cinema 16 really are what laid the foundation for the Film Society of Lincoln Center, which is the festival's 50 years old. Welcome to the New York Film Festival. In the tradition of Amos and Richard Roud, who were the pioneers of this festival, along with many others, in recent years, Rose Kuo, our executive director, has really encouraged us at the Film Society. She invited me to join the Film Society 2 years ago, which has been exciting. And she's encouraged us to kind of think differently, think out of the box, really try to find and explore and develop some new ways to experience storytelling. So about 1.5 years ago, we were at South by Southwest with our ears to the ground, and Tommy Pallotta was gracious enough to spend some time with us and sitting with us there, kind of helping us think through this theater. This building hadn't opened yet. We were telling him about it and kind of showing him some pictures and talking about what this space was going to be. And we explained to him what we wanted to accomplish with this space and how we wanted to open it up as a place where people like yourselves, creative people, storytellers, New Yorkers, and others from around the world actually could come and tell stories and explore with us. And so it's so appropriate and fitting and exciting for me, because Tommy is really that bridge between where we are now and sort of where we're coming from. Coming out of, I've known Tommy for more years than I'll admit, although I think the color of our hair kind of reveals a little bit of that and how long we've known each other. It's really special for me to have him here and for us to have him here. So as we were talking about how we would kick this off, Rose and Matt Bolish and I, over the summer, Tommy was the obvious choice. And Tommy's a producer, a director, a creator who's worked with people like Linklater in creating Scanner Darkly. He's also a creative force behind provocative and engaging transmedia experiences like Collapsus. He's many things, and we're really excited to have Tommy here to kick off this first Convergence at this 50th New York Film Festival. So settle in. I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, look for me, look for Matt, look for Rose. We're excited to be here to experience this weekend with you. So without further ado, let me turn the podium and the computer here over to the terrific Tommy Pallotta.
Hi. Well, thank you for that very nice intro, Eugene. It's really special to be here. I live in Amsterdam most of the time, so it's always fun to be in New York, and the Film Society has always been a super important part of my life since I started making films and telling stories. So let me... I thought today I would talk a little bit about what I've learned from filmmaking and what I've been able to take into the interactive form of storytelling, and what I learned from interactivity and bring it over to the more traditional forms. I'm pretty comfortable doing either format, whether it's a traditional film or an interactive story. And I was just curious, how many people here are sort of overwhelmed by technology, things like that? Does it ever get to be too much, right? I'm with you 100%. I'm a Neo-Luddite. If I can do it, you can do it. The good news is technology's just a tool. It doesn't really matter. The bad news is it's still hard to tell a good story on a single platform, and now you got to do multiple platforms. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I started out a traditional filmmaker. I worked in 16mm film and actually directed a feature film that premiered here at the Lincoln Center in the mid-90s. After that experience, I sort of realized that it was probably something that I wasn't that interested in. I found during that production process, I felt like there had to be something better, and it's just when all these digital tools were becoming available. So I thought, is there a way to sort of bring traditional filmmaking techniques, but then have animation, but then not have all the labor of the animation? So I met an animator who was also a programmer, and he wrote a little program that allowed us to draw over the image. And so this is our first experiment. That's me, and that's Bob.
People are basically generally nice, I have to say, and generous. And people aren't, they look funny. Hey, Claudia. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You want to be interviewed? We're doing a short film. Yeah. Would you like to be interviewed for our film? You'll be animated. You'll be an animated cartoon character. You'll be an animated cartoon character. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's redundant, but that's what you'd be. 5 minutes. Come on. Yeah. Good.
Sorry, you're very long.
Yeah, I'm here in January.
Good.
We just drove from New York to here.
Oh my goodness.
A little documentary.
Uh-huh. How fun. Hi.
So the idea was to do it quick, do it fast, do it cheap. And so we were just using real life, so we didn't have to write a script. The animation thing was just super simple, so it wouldn't take a long time. And we started to experiment with that. I'm going to come back to that at the end of this presentation, and I'm going to show you a new thing that I'm working on that I went very far away from this idea, and now I'm going back to this idea. So I think Julian's going to help me demo something, and we'll do a little live animation. So using a computer as the main tool for storytelling was something that I really started around here in the 90s. And so it was a really natural progression for me to continue to stay in that realm. And then as the tools became more and more sophisticated and my interest grew in terms of interactivity, it became more of a hybrid. And so I started thinking like I wanted to mix documentary with features, with live action, with animation. And that really culminated in this project called Collapsus, which was done for, there was a documentary on peak oil for a Dutch broadcaster. And it was a traditional talking head documentary. And what they found is that basically they're losing their audiences. The audience is getting very old, and it's getting less and less. So they wanted to do something more experimental. So we took basically the premise of the documentary, and we made a sort of fictional version of that. And it was meant just for an online type experience. So we created a fictional set of characters that were citizen reporters that used YouTube and things like that. And we sort of saw a time when basically we run out of energy and resources. So there's a gaming element to that. As you go through the experience, you're asked to play sort of flashlight games that deal with the resources. There's a dramatic element to it. And what we did was take the sort of scenarios in the documentary, but then we created a fictional version with the characters, which was interesting because you find that you actually care a lot more when it's a person that you can identify with.
One of the design choices we made was to approach this using a 3-panel system. And the center panel that you see here is the main sort of fictional storyline. And you'll notice that the right side and the left side will light up at certain points in the story. If you go to the right side, that's the documentary portion where you'll get interviews with experts in the field or additional blogs from the characters. And then to the left, you'll get the interactive portion. same sort of issues out in a way that was going to be interesting to younger people and the connected generation. So our idea was to create an experience that's sort of an annotated narrative. What this is really, it's part fiction. It's about these 10 young people all over the world and how this energy crisis affects them. It's part documentary, so you have moments where you can go into actual talking heads and people talking about the issues and predictions, and then there's an interactive component. So there's three components, so sort of a fiction, a documentary, and an interactive.
So I find myself, but there's a lot of terminology, and I think I find myself using hybrid a lot because I always want to sort of just mix everything together. I have ADD, it probably has something to do with it. But I just loved how free this felt when I was able to make this. And that's the one thing that I want to emphasize right now is that I feel that there's opportunities now with transmedia to be incredibly experimental. If you make a movie now, there's a format. And you can deviate from that format, but there's a sort of set of expectations that we have as an audience. Right now, these rules haven't really been set up yet. And so it's a great time to sort of play and fail. And you can fail, and it's not that big of a deal because everybody else is failing at it too. So it can be a lot of fun. And I also was using the rotoscoping in this project as well that I had used in a scanner darkly before it, which was this. And what happened here was that I went as far away from the original idea that we had with the very first animation that I showed you, and this was incredibly laborious. It took 500 hours per minute. And one of our animators, Blue, is right here. She said like she spent a year doing 2 minutes or something like that. And so it took about 50 animators 18 months. Is that right, Blue? 18 months, yeah, to do the whole thing. And so after this, I realized I sort of painted myself in a corner, that everything the reason why I started it was all of a sudden I'm doing everything wrong. So we'll kind of go back to that in a little bit. But again, it's a hybrid. It's shot in live action, and then it's animated over it. So it's like making 2 movies and making it twice as hard. But it does look pretty. On Waking Life. Well, currently I'm working on a new project called The Last Hijack. It's about pirates in Somalia, and it's about survival in a failed state. This is going to be another sort of transmedia hybrid project. It's going to be half live action documentary and half animated. So I'm using animation to try to see if I can do a subjective point of view. So it's not recreations in terms of like past historical events, but it's really how I imagine they see themselves at that time. So it's their dreams, their aspirations, their hallucinations, whatever. Here's a little clip. It's super raw, and I used to like never show anything that I was working on, but I'm trying to let loose and let go. So that's part of the technology part of it. This was filmed in Somalia. There's no animation in this yet. It's completely raw, so. But I'll show you an animation test after. So I call it a documentary, but it'll be interesting to see how it really plays out because it's not a reportage. It's not really trying to do a balance or an objective point of view. It's really just about people. So. That's Muhammad. They're trying to do an intervention to get him to stop being a pirate, and he's buying cat, which is a hallucinogen, and he just doesn't show up. And it's a father. So really, at the core of it, it's a story about a father and a son. It's about survival. And then this is a little test where I just took some footage, and I just dropped some storyboards in it to see how it would sort of play out and how it would feel. I'll just let you see it. This is super raw. So a lot of what I do, I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm going into it, which makes a lot of people nervous, but then I always figure I'll figure it out in some way. But I do a lot of tests. So this test was raw on purpose to sort of see, can it be engaging? What do I have to do in order to go in and out of the scene? Can you really sort of get that perspective or that memory, and how does animation play? So in every single aspect of it, I'm looking at, like, how do you tell that story? And in that sense, I think as a storyteller, you're always looking for those tools and those ways to be able to express really what you're trying to say. There's a little animation test where we're going to test if we just took a single illustration, can we bring it to life with animation? So this was done from one drawing. So I'll go through, usually, I mean, I've probably done 20 animation tests so far, and each single one is always sort of, there's certain parts of it that I think are a success and certain parts that are a failure, but every single iteration I'm always learning. And that's always a big part of it, because that's how you, one of my theories is that if you do something unique, people will pay attention to it. And so that's always been sort of the trick, even from the very first animation. It was like, with the interview with myself and Claudia, who you saw, and Bob, if it was live action, it wouldn't be entertaining. We wouldn't watch it at all. But you animate it, and suddenly it has a different context. So now I have a new venture where I'm basically looking at animation and trying to make it fun for everyone. And I want everybody to be able to do that. And so I kind of really thought about it in that, well, what's the real sort of barrier to telling these stories? And basically, I think right now what's happening in much the same way that the digital tools made filming a lot easier and made editing easier, now that's going to happen with animation. And it's really about giving people the powers to express themselves. And I'm going to demo this motion capture application. Hopefully Julian will do it with me afterwards. But in case we have technical problems, I'll show you a little bit. But what we did, I just took a Kinect and we hacked it. And then it basically uses this Kinect camera, which is $150. There's 20 million of them in people's homes right now. And you can just walk around and you just take any illustration and bring it to life. And it's real time. So every single day I could do a little video animation of myself and send it out to my friends. The Johnny Cash project that Chris Milk and Aaron Copeland did, that where you can actually rotoscope and crowdsource some of the rotoscoping things that I did. You could do that on the web. That's another tool that I'm looking at. I'm working currently on a new project that will do sort of like live processing of video that makes it look like it's animated. And then I want to do another app that mixes live action with animation. And this is a music video that I found. Actually, I didn't make this, but I thought it was a really good example of it. And I think this will actually be really easy to make. So it's really just about like making really quick and simple tools so that basically people can just have fun. And I kind of see this as a way to just sort of kickstart a revolution in animated content. I just want everybody to be able to animate. And so that's my new venture, is just really creating a set of tools for people to express themselves and sort of encouraging everybody to be a storyteller. That's really about all I have. And I'd love to do this little connect thing if Julian wants to try that. Let's see. Yeah, come on up here. Have you used the Connect before? I feel like I'm a magician or something, like I'm going to saw you in half. Okay, do you know? Oh, I hope that the light. So, do you know the start pose? Yeah, so there you are. Well, you're me now. So, if you face the camera, it'll work better. But you can kind of see that. So, I mean, it's really simple. It's really fun. Anybody can do it. It's basically like a puppet tool. And this took 1 day of programming, 12 hours. And again, it's sort of a part of a beta test. And I can train you around. There, you're an angry sailor. I can make you a little girl. Skeleton. Another robot. And I mean, I can switch out the backgrounds really easily. And there's even a really simple algorithm that if you talk to the microphone, it does lip sync with it really quick. But yeah. So I don't really know what I'm going to use it for or why I did it. I just thought it would be really fun. And I guess I don't know why I'm showing it to you. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it now. And I really, when I made it, I thought, like, I just want to see a kid play with it. You know, it just seemed like the coolest thing ever. But again, going back to the original impulse with the very first clip that I showed you, it was about how to make it sort of quick, fast, and expressive, where you don't have to spend a super long time to do anything. Which model do you like the best? Do you like the robot? Do you?
I like the robot the best.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what background?
I've just seen this one or the other.
Oh yeah, you want to be spaceship. This one. This one.
Oh, it like registers with my arms. And
Yeah. And you know, we could, like, it's pretty easy to hook up multiple connects as well, and you get even more data and transfer. And it's sort of interesting to see how the light, I didn't know if it was going to be too bright because it's really sensitive to light. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. Come up here and play with this if you like.
we take some questions?
Sure.
Anybody want to ask Tommy some questions? Yeah.
Is this infrared? Is it
Yeah, I guess. No, it's.
infrared displays a basically a recognizable infrared image based on which you can see, you don't see it there, but it plays that very quickly, and the camera picks it up, and based on how the grid is distorted, it can see how.
I like being like Tommy bot.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a question about the Somalia thing.
Mhm.
Show. Is that also going to be like 3 screens, like a triptych kind of thing with different elements, or is that going to be more like a straightforward?
Yeah, you know,
audience?
it's a great question, and I should have mentioned. I meant to mention that the user interface is really a super important aspect of the storytelling experience now. And in that instance, at first I just hired somebody to do the user interface, and I wasn't thrilled with what they were doing, and it didn't feel very intuitive. And I was just like looking at the iPad one day, and I was just like, it was like my idea. It was like I really wish that the iPad, like I get stuff, and I'm always like, what? This is it? You know, like I was one who didn't think the iPad was cool. I thought like I just thought you should be able to not have icons, but you should be able to just swipe through the whole thing, and it would be like that. So that was like what I thought the iPad should be like. And which is really great because I'm super excited about like touch interface, and all these things have real storytelling potential, but I don't really have a clear plan going into it. So that interface was, I think we had to be live contractually really quick, and I threw away the old interface like a week before we went live, and I had them implement that one. So.
From a storytelling perspective, I guess what I'm wondering is, you know, we're watching, we're seeing what looks like a documentary, the man is speaking, we see like B-roll from his life making the tea, and then you go into the animation, and it's suddenly like from third person to first person.
Yeah.
So it almost could be like, what was that Israeli film, you know? Did you guys see it about the occupied territories, and it went into? It almost
an-
seems like yes.
The animated, yeah.
With Bashir, it seems like you could actually
Yeah.
put somebody through a typical filmic experience, but through.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're thinking with that?
I think, you know, I mean,
The game aspect, or?
yeah, you know, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but I pay attention to games, and I wish that I would sound a lot smarter if I could tell you that I have all this planned out. I follow my instincts a lot, and I don't really know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm willing to sort of do these little tests, and I'm willing to throw a lot of work away when I'm going in to sort of find what that is. And then sometimes I just sort of look at, like, I'll be inspired by a new thing that comes out, like the iPad, you know, and the touch interaction. And the Kinect also is really, I think, enticing to me, and that's the reason why I kind of did this, because I thought that's a new mode. And I thought I thought a good experiment would be, can I get 2 people to touch each other, but they don't know that that's what I want them to do, and I wouldn't have any instruction. So I want to do an experience with the Kinect where I could see, like, can I make these 2 people touch each other? And it's sort of interesting when you think, like, as you're trying to express yourself or you're a storyteller, that would be pretty cool, you know, like to actually bring that human element to it, to actually touch another being, I think could make, if we don't know each other, it could be uncomfortable, it could be fun, I don't know, you know, but it would be neat to break down that boundary in the storytelling experience, because when I go see a movie, I don't want to just experience, oh, that's just a movie and I'm here and it's a passive one-way experience. I'm always thinking about what's that space in between. I'm always looking at the walls around, and I just want to know what's behind the screen, and I want to know who's in the projection booth.
It's kind of like how can you give agency, like, I guess that's the gamification aspect, like giving agency to the person who's watching, you know?
Yeah.
That would bring the Somalia thing.
Yeah, you know, I think it has to come out next year, so we'll find out. But everything that I do from the very beginning, there's always the interactive component along with the film component, and so it's always playing with each other throughout the process. So everything that I do, there might be stuff that I do for the film that I end up not using for the film, but then it's good for the interactive portion of it. So we'll see. Blue.
On this connecting,
don't know. This is it's just. I'm sorry. Oh, is there a limitation for how complex? I don't know. This is literally, you guys are the first people to see it publicly, and it's just sort of a new toy. I mean, I don't think so. I think simple's better. So I think that you could do South Park Live with this. We can, we can do 2 people. And if anybody wants to come up here and play with it, feel free to, please. But I mean, right now I think the limitation is two people for just this simple thing. But all it basically is just an interface. It's using Flash right now. So it's vector based. So we'll see. It's just Flash and a Connect. Yeah.
Oh, could you go back to the image of that sort of pastel baby video, and can you talk about that?
For this?
No, it was back. It was back a couple.
Oh, the
video animated
the app, yeah.
Live footage.
Yeah, that's not real yet. I haven't made that one yet.
It looks real.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's going to be my next test, I think, and I hope it'll go as easily as this one. But she asked about the baby image and the live thing. So the idea behind that is that you could be able to basically take a phone and just shoot it. And there are apps that do that, but I'm not satisfied with any of them right now. And I thought I've produced so much rotoscoping that I just kind of intuitively know how to make it seem more human and less like a filter.
I'm curious about sort of using the interactive component, which is really cool, but how do you use that with an audience? You know, something that I really enjoy about going to the movies is that you're sort of experiencing it with this huge group of strangers. So
yeah.
How do you envision interactivity working in that way, or is it just going to be like an online community where everyone does it on their own computer?
I think it's all just fragmenting right now, and everything's just sort of falling apart. And I think that the movies will always be there, and that people are always going to enjoy seeing them. But I've had the pleasure of having movies in theaters, and I don't really care where it shows up. And I don't get a chance to go see movies very often anymore. I have a kid, and for me to go see a movie, it's like a big deal. So, and I think probably statistically, probably 80% of your audience is going to see it not on a movie screen anyway, now, already. So my whole thing is just like, if you have a story to tell, if you have something to say, you want to reach people, I don't care if it's in a movie theater or a computer screen or at a gas pump. You know, like, I just figure it's all fair game. Did that answer your question?
Was the technique that you used in A Scanner Darkly and the commercial campaign that had a similar look, was it exactly the same?
Yes, the commercial campaign was done by my partner Bob Sabiston, who developed the software, and yes, so same software, but I didn't do the commercials. Which
Question
kind of
back
creepy.
here.
As everyone's wrapping their brain around the new world of transmedia and everything that we're talking about this weekend, what would you say when you're going into your process, do you tell yourself not to do? So by eliminating the non-truths, you're kind of getting to your truths.
Well, I told myself I wouldn't talk about technology, and that didn't really work out right today. What do I tell myself not to do? Gosh, I don't know if I tell myself not to do anything. I just try to have a clear set of goals going into it. So usually, and a lot of times I'm just really discovering that. By the time I'm done with something, it's like I feel like, oh, if only I could start all over again. You know, because I feel like only at the very end do I really start to understand even what I'm doing. And sometimes it'll just be like, when you have to do press and people start asking you questions like, why'd you do that? And I'm just making stuff up. Because like if I just go like, well, it looked cool, that's not really, you know, or you know, I don't know. I don't know why I do what I do, usually. Does it sound like I know what I do? I don't know. Can I fake it? Yeah.
Hang on. Some people in the back can hear you.
I understand how the uncanny apps that you're working on would be monetized. I'm assuming like an app store, but would you go through a third party? And these are both money questions. And the other question is, the last hijack you said is going to appear next year. You know that?
Yeah.
And how's that getting funded? And what sort of interface with distribution do you have now, or is it circulation through you?
Last hijack was an international co-pro. And so we got money from a lot of different countries. And so just contractually, I have to deliver it. And I think they pre-sold secondary windows. So it's still available if you're a distributor here in America, please. But we'll do this. We'll go to the festival circuit and all that other stuff. And the website will be part of the whole experience. So the movie itself is going to be very subjective, and it's not really going to go into the whole history of Somalia, which is pretty complex. I've been working on this project for about 3 years, and I still don't understand it all. But the interactive portion of it will be an opportunity to tell sort of the larger part of that story. So, and the app thing, there's no, I'm not I know how to spend a lot of money. I don't know how to make it. So sorry, but I figured there's like, I wake up trying to think like, oh, how can I do this thing, or with this Connect, I want to do that. And I know that there's somebody somewhere, somebody's thinking like, he wakes up and he's like, I got to make money. So there's somebody out there who can make money, then great. So I like to spend it.
I'm just curious, Tommy, because you mentioned earlier, we're going to wrap up in just a second. You talked about the process of not wanting to share, not wanting to show what you're working on, and you're sort of pushing yourself to do the opposite at a program like this. Or how did you come to that sort of? How hard was it to sort of embrace the need to sort of share what you're working on, kind of put it out there? Because I would imagine that the kind of feedback you might get from folks like those in the room today might actually send you in an unexpected direction.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of my hesitation is just fear, and like fear is never really a good place to be as a motivation. And secondly, I think in technology, if you notice that they release programs all the time, and it's really about reiteration. And their attitude is like, if you deliver something that doesn't have bugs, you waited too long to deliver it. So I'm really kind of taking that sort of production model from technology and just applying it to storytelling. So it was a big influence.
We'll take just maybe one or two more questions, and I'll pass the microphone down to you.
Are you super cold? I'm so cold.
With technologies that allow, for instance, a filmmaker to work in a 3D environment, such as Valve releasing basically a video editor for their games, or people who take Kinects and then put HD video over them, how do you feel as a filmmaker that there is now existing a medium where the point of view is controlled by the user, and do you think the challenges and opportunities are there in recording a film in 3D and having the viewer be able to move the point of view as they will?
I think it would be cool. I mean, I wonder about, I think, I understand your question, I think, and you were asking about agency and all this stuff. It's really like, maybe these are age-old questions, like, do we have free will? Do we have agency? I don't know. It's somewhere like along there. I think, I'm torn, because I'm an old dude, and I grew up with film and sort of this like notion that there's a vision and you like it exists in the forms or something. But I think that it's fun to have the sandbox. It's fun to play around, and I think it really depends on what you're trying to say and what the story is. So again, all these tools are kind of fun and they're cool, but there's no, I think what you have to do is really sort of look at what are you trying to express, and then you can find a use for that tool. I think somewhere there's a great use for what you're talking about, but certainly not for everything. So
I think that's a good place to stop, or to pause, I should say. We have another session starting at 11 o'clock. I invite you to check that out. But give you a chance we'll work on the temperature. It's a little chilly in here. We'll give you a chance to get some coffee and get settled in, or to come down and talk with Tommy, or try out this this device he's developed. So thanks for joining us in this first session. Come on down, talk to Tommy, try this out, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks.
Thank you.